In this video, we're going to go over some things that I learned about Lebanon while being in Lebanon, mainly Beirut because that's where I spent most of my time. We're also going to go over some things I heard about before coming, some things I thought about this place that were actually wrong. That's one of the great things about traveling is that you may hear a lot of news and experiences from other travelers about a certain destination. And then once you get there, you realize, oh, wow, what they said was actually a little bit different than what I experienced, whether good or bad. So that's the point of this video. And with all that being said, let's go ahead and get into the first part. Some of you all, when you hear of Lebanon, you may have heard about the financial crisis the country is going through, which is causing their currency to depreciate, to lose value, which means if you're coming with a stronger currency, for example, the dollar, things are a lot more affordable. The country's a lot more inexpensive, aka cheap. Another factor is the black market rate, the street exchange rate, the unofficial rate, whatever term you want to use, which makes things even more affordable. Because during this time of the currency losing value, the government decided to create their own exchange rate, which at the time, before I got on the plane to Lebanon, it was 15,000 Lebanese lira, which is a local currency, to $1. Well, if you went to the streets, which many people say is the true exchange rate, it's the true market, you were able to get 89,000 liras to $1. This is why many people would say, when you go to Lebanon, make sure you change your dollars to the local currency because you'll have more purchasing power. You'll get 10, 11 times more than what you'll get from the banks. Well, maybe in the past it was like that, but now in 2024, that's not the case because the government has recently done away with the rate that they created. And now the official rate is the same as the street rate. The street rate is 90,000. The official rate is 90,000. They're the same. You'll still hear people say that you should change your dollars to the local currency in order to get more value. However, I disagree. In fact, I would say you would be losing money if you exchange your dollars to the local currency. And here's why. Let's say you go to a supermarket and you want to buy a bottle of water. That bottle of water costs 90,000 liras, the same as $1. So when you get to the cashier, you give them $1, no problem. But let's say before you went to the supermarket, you went to the street because you wanted to exchange that $1 to the local currency, because that's what everyone has told you. Now, obviously, that person, that exchange shop, has to make some money. So they're going to charge a commission. Instead of giving you 90,000 liras back, remember the local currency, they give you 89,000. So they just take 1,000 off, which isn't that bad. You go back to the supermarket, but this time you cannot buy that bottle of water because remember, it costs 90,000. You only have 89,000 right now because you exchanged. And getting 89,000 back was being very generous. I went to a hotel. They said I would get 85,000 back for every dollar that I exchanged with them. When I first got here, the exchange rate that I got on the street was 87,000 to $1. So again, there's really no point in exchanging because you'll just be losing out. Another thing you may hear is people saying not to use your bank cards, like your credit or debit card, because you'll get charged the low government rate. Kind of similar to how things operate in Argentina. But again, the official and unofficial rates are the same now. So what I did was I went to the supermarket and asked them, hey, what is the rate that you guys are using? Because I want to use my credit card. And they showed me on screen. It was close to 90,000, the same as the black market rate. And I also went to a few smaller shops that took credit cards. It was the same. So about halfway through my trip, I started using my credit card more because I was running out of cash. The problem with running out of cash in Lebanon is that the ATM fees are high. For example, one bank charged 5%. So if you want to pull out $500, it was a $25 fee. Another bank called Arab Bank, they charged $8 per transaction, but the most you can withdraw per transaction was $200. So if you pull out $200, $8 fee, $400, $16 fee, $600, $24 fee. And if you don't have a card that reimburses you, withdrawing left and right can be expensive. So that's why I started using my credit cards in Lebanon. For this next point, before coming to this country, because of its location, I thought it was going to be mainly desert everywhere, mainly sand. But come to find out, Lebanon actually has no desert. And the way it was worded was that Lebanon is the only Arab country without a desert. Now, some people may disagree with that because I've heard some Lebanese people don't call themselves Arab, they call themselves Phoenician. That's probably a whole different topic, but the point I'm trying to make is it doesn't have a desert. In fact, it has pretty much everything else. There's actually a saying here that you can, and I'm gonna say it wrong for everyone out in Lebanon, but it goes, you can swim at the beach and ski in the snow on the same day. For example, in Beirut, you have the beach. Now what you're seeing right now is the city beach. They have more beautiful beach towns that you can visit. That's supposed to be nicer and more picturesque. But you get the point, they have beaches here. 1 hour out from Beirut, we have the snow-capped mountains where you can ski. Lebanon, I believe, has maybe 3, 4, maybe more ski resorts. They also have, I forgot what award they won. I don't know if it's the biggest ski resort in the Middle East or the best, but they won some award. Now, for the record, when I got here, I didn't actually ski. I was planning to, but the price was a little high for what I wanted to do. That's one of the downsides of traveling solo, is that you have no one to split the cost with. But if you plan to go, make sure you bring someone so, again, you can share the cost. And also, if you go on a weekend, it's going to be super busy. Try to go on a weekday. But anyways, the point is they have snow here. Also, many civilizations, many empires have passed through. So you have ruins. This one is called, I believe, Baalbek. It's supposed to be one of the most popular, if not the most popular ruins in Lebanon. Beautiful. And again, in the background, you got the snow-capped mountains. For all the heathens listening, you can check out the wine vineyards. Oh yes, you can drink alcohol. And this isn't it. There are some areas I didn't get to experience. If you go farther up north, they have different forests. They have hiking trails, they have waterfalls. And the great thing about this country, at least if you're a tourist, maybe if you're living here, it might be, I don't know, you might get tired of it, but the size of the country, it's pretty small. So going to these different sites, waterfalls, wine vineyards, the beaches, you can be at each place probably less than 2 hours, or at least at most less than 3 hours. So definitely Lebanon is the definition of the small country that packs a big punch. The small country, but has a lot to do. I just talked about the mixed landscapes, but also there's a mixed vibe. For example, the religions here. Now, in my previous video, I sort of commented on this topic, and I've also heard about this while I was in Lebanon, that right now it's around 60 to 70% Muslim and 30 to 40% Christian. Depending on who you talk to, numbers may differ. A Christian may say 60% Muslim, 40% Christian. A Muslim may say 70% Muslim, 30% Christian, but you guys get the point. But I've also heard, and when I was there, I looked it up, that there used to be a lot more Christians in the country. A lot of them left due to multiple reasons. So it used to be closer to at least 50-50, which is pretty interesting to learn about. But the point I'm trying to make is I thought everyone here I thought it would be 99% Muslims, when that's not really the case. Also, when it comes to the mixed vibe is the language. There may be more, but the 3 primary ones you're going to hear, at least in Beirut, Arabic, French, and English. And a 4th one called Arabish. It's a mix of Arabic and English. So you'll hear something called Arabish. Word on the street is that a lot of people are moving away from French in favor of English. And I will say that's what I heard the most. As an English speaker, I didn't really have too many communication issues walking around Beirut. And lastly, when it comes to the mixed vibe, I already touched on it, is the currency, which is dollarized. So you can pay the local Lebanese lira or the US dollar. And don't be surprised if you get both back as change. If you get $20 in change, you get $10 in lira, the other 10 in USD. Moving along, we have something that's done in Lebanon that I would say as an American it's just different. In the US, there's sort of a social norm that there are certain topics you don't speak to strangers about. 2 of them right off the bat are politics and religion. Those are said to be sensitive issues. So speaking to strangers about them can cause some problems if there's a disagreement. Not only that, those topics can ruin relationships. When you get to Lebanon, it's the complete opposite. People have no problems talking about politics and religion. I want to say most of my time talking to locals was about politics and religion. Keep in mind, I wasn't the one who brought up these topics first. I'll give you a perfect example. The first day I got to Lebanon, I went to a small shop to buy a SIM card. There was a lady in line. She spoke some English, so we had a conversation and she was asking me about, what I thought about Lebanon. I was telling her this was my first day. I just got here, but so far seems pretty chill and cool. And then out of nowhere, I forgot exactly what she said, but she joked about how the situation is in her country. Basically, like, if you're a tourist and you have money, you'll enjoy it. If you're a local, it's a little different because the government is poor and the infrastructure is poor. And then the staff member joined the conversation and started talking bad about the government as well. Meanwhile, I'm thinking to myself, wow, is this acceptable? Are we supposed to be doing this? Some countries I go to, if you talk bad about the government, you'll be locked up. You'll go missing. So I was just kind of confused. Remember, this is my first day. I didn't know if this was something that I should be listening to. But later on, as I talked to more people, I realized, oh man, no, this is this is very common. People wake up to go get tea, smoke a cigarette, and talk about politics. One of the guys was telling me, and I don't know if he was saying this tongue in cheek in a joking manner, but politics are spoken about more in Lebanon. Or how did he say it? I think he said people in Lebanon criticize their government more than Americans, more than we criticize our government. Something like that. And I wouldn't doubt that. I can see what he means. Moving along on the list, we have the electricity situation. Now, this came to a surprise for me because I thought this was due to the infamous port blast that happened here in 2020. I didn't think the whole city was affected. I thought maybe just the places close to the port. But I later found out that the whole country is affected. And this has been going on for years. And so you need to be aware that not every accommodation has 24/7 electricity. Some have times throughout the day when the power is off. So for example, the first Airbnb I was in, it was only off 3 hours out of the day and it was at night. The second Airbnb I was in had power 24/7, but just be mindful that it varies from place to place. Some have power all day. Some will say you'll get power 22 hours out of the day. Others have multiple blocks or multiple times when the power is out during the day. Another caveat is that pretty much all the Airbnbs I stayed in, and I heard this was common, and that's you can only have one AC. Not one AC, you can only have one appliance going on at a time. So not to trip the breaker. For example, if you want to use the washer, you would have to turn off the AC, the heater, etc., etc. Next point on the list, when I was in Lebanon, I read that this is the most liberal Arab country. I haven't been to every Arab country, but depending on what you consider liberal, I will say I can see what people mean. Walking around, I don't see at least a lot of the women wearing the hijabs. Now, I don't know if those women not wearing them are Christians. I can't really tell. But even in the quote unquote Muslim area, I don't really see many wearing them. Here, you can drink alcohol. The nightlife is said to be one of the best, if not the best in the Middle East. Rooftop bars, clubs, lounges. You're going to hear all types of music, techno, hip hop. So those are just a few things I noticed. I don't know if it is the most liberal Arab country. Plus, most of my time was spent in Beirut, which larger cities tend to be less conservative in general. I'm sure once you get out to other areas, it might be a little different, especially the rural areas. Well, that word's hard. The countryside. And last but not least, this is a smoker's paradise. So if you love cigarettes, you love tobacco, you love shisha, hookahs, you're going to be in heaven. Usually when I go to restaurants, the first thing people ask me, do you want shisha? There was also a time when I went to this bakery, which is supposed to have some pretty good food. And to my surprise, I noticed ashtrays all over the tables. So that just lets you know that people here smoke everywhere and anywhere. But with all that being said, this is the end of the video. These are just a few things I learned while I was in Lebanon. There's some things I was told that were incorrect, that were outdated, and I want to share those all with you, just so when you get there, you're better prepared. And one last thing I forgot to mention is that Lebanon so far, in my opinion, has the best salads. Now let me go ahead and end the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys learned something, and be looking out for more videos from this region. I got another country I got to hit up, and we'll see how it goes. All right, catch you guys at the next one. Deuces.